Hey, welcome back, everybody. Jason here with Gather Veterans and joined on Zoom studio with Mr. Ben Williams. Ben, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we've been doing all these veteran interviews and just kind of getting everybody's stories because I think they're really important to share with people. And so here's another one. We just love to hear, first of all, just kind of a background of where you grew up, how you grew up, and what led you to the military and how you signed up, how you joined, things like that.
Well, basically, it's a family tradition. Um, you know, multi-generational Air Force family, so to speak. Well, my grandfather was Army Air Corps, and then my dad and uncle, paternal uncle, was also Air Force as well. Both served during Vietnam. Um, and so basically a natural calling after graduating high school, whether to stay in small town Georgia or get out and see the world. So I was thankful enough that I went out and joined the Air Force and saw the world. And my first duty station was Charleston, South Carolina, which was like 2.5 hours away. So it's like, thanks,
Just,
Uncle Sam, for a sense of humor. I appreciate it.
just right to the backyard there.
Right, exactly. So I was like, oh, come on, work with me.
What part of Georgia did you grow up in?
Near Savannah,
Okay.
on the coast of Georgia. So yeah, I grew up about, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour south of Savannah, right there on the coast, in between that and Jacksonville, Florida. So
Okay.
a lot of good memories
Wh-
there.
When I was a kid, my brother just moved down there with his wife to Fayetteville.
Oh, okay.
That's where we lived a couple years when my dad worked for the KLM Airlines in Atlanta. We lived in Fayetteville there, so I have a little stint in Georgia.
A little bit of connection there.
You can have the red clay.
Exactly.
Don't buy white tennis shoes for the kids for Christmas.
Yes, yes, for sure. Got a load of
So, yeah, exactly. So, with being a family tradition, was it an easy choice for you? Was it just kind of groomed into you? That's what you were going to do, or was it Ben's decision as well?
I think a little bit of everything, really. I mean, it was somewhat groomed into me. Um, kind of the expectation was going into the military. Um, that decision was based on my desire to get a college education, and back then, either your folks are going to pay for the college, or you were going to find somebody to pay for college. So I leaned towards the military and kept up with that, basically the proverbial foot in the shorts to get moving out the door after graduation. And also found a way to get my college education paid for, courtesy of Uncle Sam. So that had a lot to do with it, and no regrets at all for that. So
And how long were you in the Air Force?
I spent 12 years, 12 years, 1 month, 13 hours, 6 minutes, 58 seconds.
But who's counting?
But who's counting, right? Uh,
Uh,
I,
what were some of the places it took you, and maybe some of the significant things that you can remember happening or that you experienced?
well, the one good thing about the military is there's no shortage, in my opinion, of experiences and good memories with a lot of good people. I think the first memory that came to mind, you know, my first duty station was Charleston in South Carolina, and it just so happens a few months after I arrive on the base, we get hit with a major hurricane, Hurricane Hugo, and pretty much did a nice job on the entire base. So at that time, they didn't take all the necessary precautions that they take now. So one of my first experiences was sleeping through a hurricane in the barracks while the storm was passing over us. And then when the eye of the storm was out, we got to walk around and the calm winds and everything. Got to see the midnight sky with all the down trees and everything, and watched how the winds kind of turned the opposite way when the eye started moving away from us. So we rushed back inside. So that was my initial military experience. Was being in the middle of a hurricane. So,
Wow.
and that was pretty good. And then a few months later, we were providing support for the invasion of Panama.
Mm.
So, that was, kind of funny there too, is that, Charleston's not known for its snow, but during that operation, we got hit with 6 inches of snow. So
Well, you just brought the weather, didn't you?
it's like Mother Nature just had a freaking field day with us out there in Charleston.
Kind of feels like how 2020 is going already.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh man, a Groundhog Day all over again.
Yeah, can we get a refund?
Get that
Awesome.
reset real quick, will
And
you?
if no one's ever been involved in a hurricane, that is the most wild feeling to be in the eye of it, knowing that, oh, this is, intermission.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was intermission. I mean, everything was perfectly still. I mean, it's just the eeriest feeling in the world. And then you knew that intermission was over with when the wind started spinning the other way.
yep.
Okay, hurry up, get your tails back inside.
Yeah. We when I was growing up, we lived in Houston for like 8 years, and we went through Hurricane Alicia down there. And
Mm.
I remember my dad walking our dog during the eye of the storm. So it's just, well, okay, sure. I guess everybody's got to go, right? Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, little Fido can't hold it much longer. He's got to get out
Yeah,
there and
that's right. That's right. So, what were some of the things maybe that you gained as a part of the military? Life lessons, things that you took with you to this day, and whatever you're in real estate now, I believe, right?
correct.
I,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't want to tell that. I'll let you tell that story. But anyway, the things that you took with you that it taught you, maybe some of the things you weren't expecting to hear either.
um, the biggest thing, at least when I was in, it was more of a job than it was a calling. I felt,
Mm,
and so I didn't really truly appreciate the military way of life until, to be honest with you, until after I got out. Then kind of started seeing how much structure in your life could really help you overall, getting the civilian life, and kind of being every man for himself was a foreign concept. So it was a little bit of a difficult transition for me there. I did spend I did volunteer time with the honor guard, so learning and having a deep appreciation for military tradition and protocols, and then also to um, the respect that's shown for our fallen, and then for the veterans who served the country, and also you know getting that paid respect was something that really kind of touched a chord with me, and, and showing even during that period of grief, the amount of appreciation just that folded flag meant to a family member, and
mm,
presenting that flag to a family member was one of the greatest honors I've ever had. So it really helped. And then kind of going back to what I was saying, after I got out of the military, feeling kind of lost in the wind a little bit. Having that structure, you didn't know what you didn't know. So I didn't know the difference from military to civilian life at the time, because I went right in to the military right out of high school. And so my upbringing and my adult life was military, and then getting out, um, and trying to make that transition to bumper cars of civilian life was very hard for me for a while. And it took a little bit, and then that eventually actually helped me with my career. My initial career after I got out was construction, being a project manager for a large construction company. We did projects around the country and whatnot, and it helped me stay organized and accountable to the times. And apologies for that. I don't know if you can hear
That's
that
it. Yep.
noise going
That's it.
on. But anyway, being accountable to the timeline and everything just really helped out quite a bit, and I think that's what really kind of made me successful in my earlier profession. So, but yeah, that's kind of how I made made that leap, so to speak, from military to civilian. Kind of helped out a little bit all the way around.
And what was your like assignment in the military as far as like your job description or responsibilities?
Um, I was civil engineering.
Okay.
Um, we did our primary goal was to provide support and for forward situations or humanitarian or whatever the Uncle Sam wanted us to do. To spend some time and for during my period of time was a peacetime from 88 to 2000 was peacetime. So most of my assignments were either humanitarian or, forward operating, in support of something else. So you know, we would go into backfill with the UN in Bosnia or NATO, or go down to, North Central Africa and provide support, um, and East and also West Africa as well. So we were kind of, being overseas, stationed in Germany. We were kind of all over the place, and that was the benefit of, being in the being a civil engineer. We got to go out and lay out temporary bases and build up bases real quick and provide security and support for those bases and everything. So it was really a really cool job to have. So
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you feel like if you even know the answer to this, do you feel like there's a shift with each generation of how the military is viewed and how it's even looked at as someone who's going to be going into the military? The reason I asked that, I was watching just the other day because of obviously the 76th anniversary of D-Day,
mhm.
Saving Private Ryan, and just that opening scene just floors me every time. I can't imagine being a 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid, right off the farm. Here, grab this rifle and a helmet and sit in this boat. And as soon as that door opens, you got to rush that beach with machine guns firing at you. By the way,
Right.
uh, I just I can't even imagine what that was like back then. Right? I mean, just unreal. So I have such a deep found respect for people who, like yourself, take that oath, raise a hand, and say, "I'm willing to defend my country." Uh, I got sidetracked. So, what what is the attitude of the military in your opinion right now? The climate of it.
Well, you know, right now I'm an outsider looking in, being a veteran and looking in to the military the way it is today. Now I did have one son that served. He was over in Afghanistan in the army,
Hmm.
and my youngest son is currently in the Navy. And talking with them and kind of getting kind of the inside scoop, and me saying, "Well, back in the day, we used to do this right here above," but that's it. But here and there stories and whatnot. I think the military today is a lot more socially flexible than it was when I was in. Of course, they just released when I was in, they just released the Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And now things are a little bit more socially acceptable and a lot more socially flexible. So that's not really necessary anymore. And I think there's also a greater demand on military families than there was when I was in as well. The military families and especially spouses and children when they're and wives when their loved ones go off deployed somewhere, then the family's left behind, and there's just so much to do when you're a single parent basically in the military. And it's it's not an easy task. So I have a lot of respect and appreciation for the military families and the spouses who support the military members, and think that's my opinion, that's a segment of the military that's often overlooked quite a bit. A lot of respect, and rightfully so, is paid to the member. But if it wasn't for the spouses and the families, that member couldn't do his or her job as well as it can. So there's a huge difference there. Comparatively speaking to when I was in, it was, like I was saying earlier, it's a lot different with, being more of humanitarian. Now, we did briefly go to war for 100 hours and Gulf War One,
Mm.
but we didn't like the war too much, so we quickly wrapped it up and moved on.
It's a good way to put that. Exactly.
But no,
So
a huge difference there. So
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said there's a that would be the huge difference between the two, between my experience and the new experience now. I can't
Yep.
really speak to Vietnam era and Korean World War II era, but just based on what I know, that's how I understood it and understand it. So,
Yep. So I've interviewed some of the guys who have served just recently as well in the most recent um, combat situations. And I was talking to them about how, why is it that it feels like whenever there's veterans gathering together, you see a lot of them from that Vietnam, Korea, some World War II, obviously not very many anymore, but it's that older generation. Why does it seem like it's harder to get the younger generation military and maybe even in your day as well, like to do things as an event,
mm,
like they have the VFW halls and all those lodges and things like that get together, but you don't see very many younger guys coming into them, joining up. Is there enough support for the guys today that have served just recently and even in your time?
well, and I think it kind of piggyback on what I was saying earlier. That there's a transitional phase when a member leaves the military and you're still trying to readjust their identity from military life to civilian life, and there's a sense of disconnect too. And I think also too it's the age demographics. I'm sure if you kind of go back, a lot of Vietnam veterans probably didn't gather too often, right after Vietnam War, because they were still, they had a lot to deal with and getting out of the military and everything. And then the same thing with, my era, and then I would say the new era of veterans. That's how they are now. I mean, just that sense of immortality is still in place where, there will always be next year, or they're all, I'll always get around to it. And I think as you get older as a human, man or woman, then you start to appreciate, okay, I got a limited time on earth, so I want to spend as much time with my brothers and sisters as I can. So I think it's more of a age transition, and then also where they're at in life, either just getting out of the military and where they're at, are they in their 50s, 60s, 70s, or are they still in their 20s, 30s, 40s?
Sure.
And I think when you're in the 20s, 30s, 40s, you're still in that immortality mindset to where there'll always be tomorrow.
Yeah. One of the answers Brad gave one of my recent interviews was that this generation is a lot. Um, we have social media, so they can just text their buddies or get on Facebook or Instagram or whatever.
Mhm.
Whereas the older generation, all they had was face to face.
Right.
That's what they knew. So it just looks a little different. But he said it's still important for them to
Yeah,
reach out and keep in touch. I guess.
I agree. And
So
I think, with Traverse City in general, or the greater Grand Traverse City area, there's so many veteran resources and everything. And I think, based on my experience in different areas, whether it's Charleston, Germany, Denver, here, um, this area right here does, about all the areas, do a really good job of supporting veterans and
mhm,
really kind of sticking a hand out and, doing events and recognition and appreciation and whatnot. So there's that opportunity, and I think that's really important for especially the younger veterans who probably has a, I know when you're in combat, you probably still have a little bit of a twinge of a bad taste in your mouth, and it just takes a while to kind of, you know get that out of your system a little bit. And but as long as the veteran organizations here, like Reigning Liberty and peacekeepers and whatnot, they keep on reaching out and doing these events, I think that's really gives the veterans a inherent sense of comfort knowing that those places are there, even though they may not always use them.
mhm. That's great. Um, So your two boys also serve?
Yes, I've got three sons.
Oh, three sons.
Yeah, I got three sons. Two, well, all three try to serve, or two did serve. One didn't make it through boot camp for medical reasons. But my oldest son, went into the Army, military intelligence, and then my middle son actually was the smartest one of the three. Went into the Air Force, um, and then
If you're watching.
yeah, not saying there was any pressure at all, but
Right.
again, I applied the same amount of pressure with my foot like my dad did. So, but my other two bookend sons, they decided to rebel against me and go in the Army and Navy. So, you raise three of them the right way, and they all go their different paths. And
That's
just
right.
scratch your head, it's like, what were you thinking?
What do you do?
Yeah, yeah.
Do the best you can.
So I'm still proud as hell, though. I mean, regardless of the branch of service, they very proud of their commitment to serving. So it made me very proud.
Yeah. What was that conversation like with your sons when they came to you? And
Well,
was it kind of one of those that just they grew up with it and kind of a thing too?
I think so. My oldest son was a little bit more headstrong than I was at his age. Um, my when I was raising him as a single dad, I raised my three sons by myself, and so when I was raising them, and I knew the kind of the struggles and hardship that they would go in, that I first wanted them to get a college education. I really kind of pushed that. I stayed in the best schools in the state of Colorado at the time, just to make sure that their education, they had good opportunity to get good grades and, opportunity to get into a good school.
Mm.
But that wasn't the case. And no matter how much encouragement I gave them for college, they decided to go their own paths. Originally, my oldest son wanted to get a job right out of high school. But during that time was 08, 09. Yeah, no, it was 10. So we were just coming out of the recession. There wasn't a lot of jobs for him. So he decided to join the Army. Well, it's kind of a funny story there. I happened to be working for the federal government at General Service Administration in Denver at the time. And one of my sons called me and says, "Hey, Zach is over at MEPS right now." I'm like, "What?" I didn't know. And apparently went over there and had already talked to a recruiter, and he was about ready to go through MEPS to go ahead and join the Army. So
Wow.
I went over there and surprised him, and sat down next to him in the day room while he's watching TV. Didn't even see me walk up. I sat right down and said, "So when are we going to talk about this?"
Wow.
So surprise. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, good choice. Intel and everything. He got to do some good stuff. And then my youngest son originally wanted to go into the Marines, but the Marines didn't have the career field that he wanted or available in the time that he wanted it. So he chose to go into Navy radio encryption.
Hmm.
So he's right now. That's where he's at right now in Pearl Harbor. So.
Oh, well, very cool. Well, I much respect from me to you guys for continuing the tradition of serving. That's pretty awesome. I really appreciate you guys for that. I want to touch on a hot topic real quick. Just I want to get your opinion on it as a veteran,
Mhm.
because I know as a civilian how I feel, but I want to hear from a veteran on what your thoughts are on the whole taking a knee during the national anthem. Um, I don't view this question either as from the race side of things. I just view it as the actual act of choosing that moment to protest. What are your thoughts on that? No wrong answer here.
Yeah, no, I get it. And the way I look at it is everybody has the right to protest. That's the reason why we live in this great country, is because of the freedoms to do what we want to do. However, I think there should be a level of respect with each one of those rights that you've been afforded to, even though you have the right to do something. I think at the end of the day, you have to show the ultimate respect for what those rights include. Um, just because you have a right doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. With that being said, my thing is that I don't kneel before no man or no one, only before God. And so I don't personally care for somebody taking a knee during the national anthem. I think there's been too many individuals, too many men and women who gave their life um, so that they can have these right to protest. So I think my feeling is that I think if somebody's going to write a blank check and sacrifice their life for this person, at the very minimum they can do is stand on their own 2 feet and show the respect for what that flag represents. I have a strong feeling about people taking that particular time during the national anthem and taking a knee during the colors to show protest for something that is such a fluid topic to begin with and has a fluid definition to begin with, which is not the right time to be doing that type of protest. There's other ways and other methods you can do it, and that is not the right time to be doing it.
This is just my personal opinion, but I believe it spits in the face of every man or woman who gave their life, and it's not the right moment. I've always said, if you want to change something, then go and use the money that you're getting paid for and go into your community and invest in programs to help relations between organizations and people. Don't what does the need do? That just draws attention to yourself,
Right.
which is what the military is all not about. It's about being together and unified and doing something together. And I just think that's just Jason talking. I just think it's the wrong time.
No, I agree. And kind of going back to what I was saying before, my time in the honor guard, and like I said before, we're presenting the flag, the folded flag, to a
Mm.
family member of a veteran or a fallen military member, and showing and them seeing how that folded flag means so much to them, and to now have people taking a knee um, on that flag, basically is what they're doing. They're just taking a knee on the flag.
Uh,
It's just it to me just really rubs me the wrong way, and probably the reason why it rubs me the wrong way is because I have a deeper appreciation for it. I know what it really represents, uh, and nowadays I don't think there's enough discussion or enough instilled values at a young age to really truly appreciate what that flag stands for.
yep. Yeah, that's kind of where my question was in regards to the climate of the military and just the view of it right now. Um, so yeah, that's crazy. But I don't want to end on a negative note. We're also here to kind of make a little bit of an official announcement that Ben will be doing some of the veteran interviews as well for Gather Veterans. Um, I approached my wife, who's the owner and publisher of Gather Veterans Magazine and Gather Media, that I felt like it was really important for a veteran to be in this position, in this seat. I think there's a lot better opportunity to ask better questions coming from the perspective. So, Ben, just tell everybody why is it you chose to raise the hand to do the interviews and like what are you looking forward to the most?
The biggest thing is, and it kind of ties into what Gather's already doing, really, is that I think it's really important, especially nowadays, to hear the voices of the past and come alive and
Hmm.
really show how important these moments in time or how important these moments were to the veterans. And eventually, enough of these voices get together, then it becomes loud enough, then people will start to understand what that flag truly means to people.
Mm.
Right now, I don't think our voice is that strong. I don't think I think we could do a lot better getting the word out to the masses, and getting and understanding what a veteran went through, or good, bad, or indifferent, or if it was just a jovial time, or if it was one of the worst of times. But I think when you hear the words and hear the passion and hear the feelings coming from another veteran, I think only then can you really get a true appreciation that is nothing. It's not more, and it's not just a piece of cloth flying in the wind.
Right.
It's a symbol of so many men and women, and that gave us that, gave us the ability to have these type of discussions, and and really truly appreciate our country that much more.
I feel like it's one of those things where I did not serve in the military, but I feel like I really want to serve the military in ways that I can, and this being one of them. And I really appreciate it, and the opportunity to do it. And I've learned so much already from the people I've interviewed, just getting their perspectives. You know, you go through life and you know of military, you know of people in the military. You hear on Fox News and CNN the wars going on, the battles, the engagements here and there. But when you sit down and you talk to somebody and you hear them talk about seeing their friend in the field lose their life, and like you said, have to present the flag to a family member who lost their loved one. I mean, you just have I do have a deeper appreciation now for what it's like. And I asked Brad, what was that like to have that first bullet whiz past your head? I mean, I don't know what that's like. I have
Yeah.
no clue. And to hear his explanation of it, it gives you chills, because it's like, wow, it truly is. I'm laying down my life for my friends, which is America. And I think you're absolutely right, Ben, that the flag does stand for so many things. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this too. And I believe is that we want to keep the freedom in this country that it seems like so many people are willingly letting go of.
And that's the thing too. And I see this quite a bit when I was in the military, traveling to different countries, and seeing conditions, different leadership styles and how it affected other countries,
Mm.
and seeing the effects of warlords and socialism, and um, corruption throughout the governments, the and again, kind of going back to age and maturity level of society, is I think there's a big fascination, especially when it comes to these protests, that you have a sense of empowerment, you have a sense of you're doing something for a lesser person or lesser demographics. However, um, there's also, well, the lack of better word, there's a lack of ignorance that is also tied to that. That if they truly did embrace what it was like, what it is truly meant to be an American, what it's like for somebody else to selfishly give their life to a stranger so they can have that right to protest.
Hmm.
And I think if people can start putting that in perspective, it's not so much the group of veterans or a deceased military member who gave their life in defense of our country, but if you can put it into a singular context, that John Smith in Springfield, Maryland, willfully stepped in front of a bullet to save unknown Jane in Decatur, Illinois.
Mm.
When you stop and put it in a singular context, then I think people might start getting a better appreciation. But right now, it's right and left. It's military against whatever.
Sure.
And I think once we take the voices of the military veterans in these discussions, and put a personality and put a person behind these voices or behind these messages, then that, in my opinion, will make a bigger difference with society in general, not just, you know, military or police or, first responders or Black Lives Matters or whatever it is out there. It just need to break it down on the family level, at the end of the day. So
Very well said. Ben, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your service. Thank you for all you've done for the country, and we look forward to kind of watching your face on the interviews for a while.
all right, thank you for having me. I truly do appreciate it.